Hey, what is up guys? Welcome back to the channel and welcome back to more GT7 shenanigans. This video here may just showcase probably the dumbest race I think I've ever come up with within GT7. Now GT7's kind of community open lobbies really do allow for some pretty crazy situations and scenarios, and I think this may be just one of the most dumbest ones I've ever done. So some of the footage for this video was actually used as background footage for my day 1 to 3 rewards video, and a lot of people were really curious about what is actually going on. So let me just explain. Essentially, myself and a few other people decided we'd go in teams of 2, basically teaming up a bog standard Fiat 500 on dirt tyres against any pusher car you want. And in those pairs, well, you'd essentially push the Fiat 500 to the line over 2 laps of Fisherman's Ranch, and the winner would be the first Fiat 500 to cross the line. The teammate that was doing the pushing didn't really matter. Their aim was to, well, essentially get the Fiat 500 across the line first and then stop the other drivers at the same time from, well, getting their Fiat 500 across the line first. It was absolutely ridiculous. It was something we just came up with when we was kind of messing around in kind of open lobbies with you know, different kind of races with the Fiat 500s and slow cars and stuff, which were kind of originally started off with a Tomahawk, basically going around doing its laps and just destroying a group of Fiat 500s while they try and win a race together, and then yeah, it essentially just turned into the absolute carnage which you're going to see in this video. So sit back and enjoy one of these absolutely ridiculous videos. So this was race 1, and as you can see, I've teamed up with Jace here. He's going to be my little Fiat 500 that I need to push on to victory. We also have Archangel and Andy as a team, or Atwood and Adam as a team, and Jody and Steve as a team. So we have 4 teams here, and it's all about trying to push your Fiat 500 across the line over 2 laps of Fisherman's Ranch before the rest. You can use dirty tactics. You can essentially go up and stop the Fiat 500 of the opposite teams, or you can mainly focus on trying to get a good lead with your Fiat 500. Now, we saw multiple different tactics used, to be honest, within this whole, you know, kind of few races that we did. We had some people that thought, you know what, if I go and take out the lead Fiat 500, then my Fiat 500 can catch up. Now, that wasn't really the best way to go about it. It actually seemed to work better if you just kind of, you know, focused on pushing your Fiat 500. That way you could usually gap other people when, you know, the other Fiats lost control or got into accidents and such. So as you can see, for race 1, I went for the VGT with the likes of the, you know, the other teams going for stuff like, you know, the Citroen here that Steve's in, a Toyota Prius as a pusher car, and one of the big Ford pickup trucks, essentially. So my thinking behind using the Infinity VGT was the fact that it looks like a massive barge at the front. So, you know, there's a lot of pushing power and a decent amount of power to essentially, you know, push my Fiat 500 along. So as you can see, the size difference is absolutely ridiculous here. You can see it's just bizarre. It's the most weird looking thing. As you can see, we've got a nice big straight here, and this is where I felt like me and Jace could really kind of make some time up over the rest as he goes launching over the jump. Both of us did really. He's managed to keep that one going quite well. So, you know, lap 1 we're managing to pull out a decent lead there. If you look at the track map, we're pretty much home and dry. Now, it can change at any point. We could have people using the dirty tactics of just trying to, you know, take Jace out from the lead, and then that's going to cause me to get defensive with him and essentially try and protect him, but then he's going to lose all the speed. Obviously, these are bog standard Fiat 500s, so they are terribly slow if they're not being pushed along, and going uphill, well, they pretty much lose all the momentum. That's where they really need a push. Pushing them a bit too much downhill, though, will have the opposite effect, where they go a bit too quick, get very unstable, and start, you know, spinning out and flying all over the place. It's absolutely hilarious, you know, especially when you punt your teammate over the big jumps at Fisherman Ranch, and you just see this Fiat 500 launching a million miles. So as you can see, this is one of the downhill bits. This is the end of lap 1, race 1. As you can see, I've given Jace a little push, and all of a sudden he's hitting absolute warp speed in his Haribo liveried Fiat 500 as I give him a bit too much of a push and essentially destroy destroyed our lead, because now I've got to try and get him to essentially get his momentum back. So that's actually going to allow, believe it or not, the Prius and our at Wood to essentially, catch up to us. Somehow, that little Prius actually found itself being quite good on the dirt, especially whilst Genie and Adam were paired up. They were quite a decent pair, and as you can see, Andy and Archangel there, and just in the background, the truck probably not being as good as it should realistically be. As you can see now, Andy's going for the dirty tactic of actually taking out the pusher car, and that's left Archangel and Genie to essentially battle it out, but Arch looks to have lost all his momentum going through there, so Andy's going to have to get back pushing him again. As you can see, Steve and Jody not really working out for them. They were pretty much nowhere, so I'm just going to give Jace a big launch up over the ramp. As you can see, he goes absolutely flying. It's probably one of the most ridiculous sights you can ever see within GT7, is a Fiat 500 essentially catching the most ridiculous amount of air. And it's going to be myself and Jace unbeatable in round one. We're going to take the win nice and easy. As you can see, I'm just going to hold off to try and hold the others up at the end of the race. But it's going to be a nice easy win for me and Jace. So we get our pusher car, the Fiat 500 across the line first. Archangel's going to get P2. And as you can see, basically coming out of nowhere, dropping back on the second lap though, was Genie and Adam. As you can see, the Toyota Prius just pulling its Fiat 500 along. And then we had Jody and Steve just, pretty much nowhere in this race. The Citroen just not the best in terms of being able to push the Fiat 500. There's not really enough power. Sensible choice though, because it's not overpowered to the point where it's going to spin or absolutely launch the Fiat to oblivion. Now up next was race 2. As you can see, we've got Jace now pushing me in my Ferrari liveried Fiat 500, hoping that the stickers will give us some extra horsepower. As you can see, Jody's now gone for a Group B rally car, that being the 205, one of the most legendary rally cars to ever exist. She's going to be pushing the SpongeBob liveried Fiat 500, and we're already going to get into contact, me and Steve, early on, but Jody's took an early lead there. As you can see, absolutely pulling it out. Now, one thing that's really going to kind of let us down here early on is the turbo lag in the Pikes Peak Suzuki. It's quite brutal, the turbo lag in that, although it does give you a good push. You essentially need a good run to allow the turbo to spule up and then give your Fiat a big push. So that's essentially how me and Jace had to try and play it. But when Jace was kind of falling back, other people would try and slow him down and stop him, which essentially caused me to lose lots of momentum. Steve had a big crash, and that essentially cost him his very good start. As you can see, Adam's now got a new teammate in the form of this Norwegian guy that just joined in the lobby and decided he wanted to take part. Genie did have to leave after race 1. As you can see, Jody trying to get herself back underway to give Steve the best push up the hill. This is where the Fiat 500s are absolutely terrible. As you can see, it was probably at max throttle there and just going nowhere. Early on though, Archangel and Andy actually took the lead very, very well from them. There was P2 in the last race, and they're pretty much pulling out a very decent lead early on. As you can see, the Ford truck doing nice little pushes as Archangel gets nice sideways with the Fiat 500. But it weren't going to be long before myself and Jace essentially got very overpowered, as Andy then decided to take Jace out. So that's my pusher car gone, and it essentially leaves me and Archangel to battle it out. But it's looking like Arch just couldn't keep it under control, ends up riding along the barrier, and then hopefully Jace can manage to pick me up and give me another push, which he does. As you can see, we've managed to take back the lead as Andy and Arch as well trying to go over the jump, and then they absolutely wipe poor Jace out. So now he's going to have to try and get going again, as Jody and Steve have dropped back quite a bit after Steve's off, should I say, essentially the first proper corner, the big left-hander there where he's essentially gone into the barrier. So Jody's trying to give him a push and get him going again. They are slowly but surely gaining on the rest of us as we essentially just take each other out. As you can see, I believe that's Archangel just up there, just ahead. So Steve is now essentially catching P2, as I believe Andy's essentially shot off to go and slow me down. Yes, he has. There you go. You can see him in the background there. But Jace decided to fight back and make sure that he could keep me going. As you can see, Andy doing everything he can to block me off. And that's actually going to allow Jody and Steve to essentially get back in this fight here. As you can see, Steve just managing to creep through and get himself alongside me, but then Jace does manage to get a decent little push on me, but gets wiped out by Andy there. So poor Archangel's essentially dropping back whilst Andy essentially tries to mess with the competition. So he's going to have to stop and wait and try and get Archangel going again, and it essentially ends up being me and Steve in a battle for, you know, first place. As you can see, Jace just barging past and beginning to push me again and try and get me up nicely in the lead. And that's really just what we did. We essentially got a nice lead going at this point with Steve and Jody just behind us, Arch and Andy in third place in the teams, and then Adam and his Norwegian friend, yeah, essentially last place. There just wasn't the communication there where the rest of us were on, you know, party chat and stuff, being able to sort of communicate what we're going to do. So yeah, poor Adam here as we go on board with him in the very dull and drab Toyota Prius interior, just trying to, you know, at least salvage something from this race as he pushes his Norwegian teammate onwards in the race. A little bit later on, myself and Jace felt like we pretty much had it in the bag, so we went for some leaps in the air, and then we decided to get even more cheeky, I guess, and absolutely demoralise the competition by taking the win in the pit lane. So that's going to be race win 2 out of 2 for myself and Jace, Team Red here for race 2, as he goes across the line in his Pikes Peak, myself in the Fiat 500. Then just behind we have Steve and Jody recovering, much better round for them this time. P2 for them with a 205 pusher car. And Archangel and Andy are going to take P3 after Andy decided to focus on taking the competition out too much. And way back, poor old Adam pushing his Norwegian teammate. I don't even think he got a chance to actually finish the actual race. So yeah, it just wasn't his round really, as he begins to you know, potter down the hill before he goes around the last few corners. So yeah, at least he tried anyway. We did do a third race, but it ended up just being absolute carnage, just everybody taking everybody out, same teammates as usual. As you can see, Jody absolutely wiping Jace out here, penalties everywhere for yellow flag violations and such. It was just absolutely ridiculous. Myself going with the Porsche 918, it was just absolutely carnage. It was so bizarre. So I'm not going to include that full race, but as you can see, this is pretty much how it ended up being last off really. As you can see, we had another random in there that essentially didn't really push anyone, so that left Adam to essentially push 2 Fiat 500s. So there wasn't really the team's effect really there for a couple of guys. I did try and still partner up with Jace, but he got wiped out, and then I decided to wipe Andy out. And believe it or not, all the way from back there, as you can see, he just comes around the final corner. Adam's essentially just going to push Archangel to go across the line as the winning Fiat 500. So yeah, it was just absolutely bizarre race 3. It really did not make sense. It sort of you know, fell into absolute chaos and carnage that it wasn't really worthy of kind of making a full bit of coverage on. But yeah, it was absolutely hilarious nonetheless. So yeah, there we have it. That is the most dumb race I think I've ever done in Gran Turismo history. Thank you so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, turn those notifications on so you don't miss an upload from myself. Down in the description is my Twitter, my Discord, so feel free to join that to meet like-minded players. I also have my Buy Me a Coffee donation link down there if you want to donate and help out the channel. Thank you so much for your support recently. It's been absolutely incredible. I'll see you all in the next one. Take care, guys. Peace.